Can a boss be great and broken at the same time? Walter Lanford might be one of the most exciting fights I've played in Crimson Desert's hard mode. He's fast, aggressive, explosive, and constantly trying to control the space around you. But the more I learned the fight, the more I started questioning something important. Was I actually getting better? Or was the arena letting me cheese the fight Walter was built to give me?
I have no place for failures. It'll be a shame if...
Welcome to Until the Next Fight. This channel is not about perfect gameplay or no-hit runs. We learn bosses through failure, experimentation, and real combat experience. And Walter Lanford is exactly the kind of boss that makes that process interesting. Because on paper, he is extremely annoying. A ranged boss with shotgun-style weapon, explosives, and an unlimited amount of minions he can call on that will back him up. That could easily turn into a fight where the boss just runs away while the player chases him around. But Walter does not feel like that. At his best, he feels like a hunter who is trying to control the fight before you can control him. And that is what makes this encounter stand out. The question is not whether Walter is fun to fight. The question is whether the fight still holds up once you learn how much control the arena gives you. The first thing Walter gets right is pressure. A lot of ranged bosses lose momentum because they create distance, fire a projectile, and then wait for the player to run back in. Walter is more active than that. He fires wide shotgun blasts, backs away to reset spacing, leaps in the air, calls in support, and keeps forcing you to read the next threat. The fight is not just about closing distance. It is about closing distance without getting careless. That is an important difference. If you sprint straight at him, you will get punished. If you wait too long, he resets the fight. If you ignore the ads, they start taking space away from you. So the best moments in this fight come from reading Walter's position, dodging the ranged pressure, and choosing when to commit. When he slides or flies backwards after a combo, he is not just showing off, even though it's really cool to see his dance moves. He is resetting neutral. You land your damage safely after reading his move. He creates distance, and now you have to earn your way back in, forcing you to close the gap again. That makes the fight feel much faster than a straight ranged encounter. Walter is not just standing across the arena taking shots. He is constantly trying to make you play his spacing game. Walter also has something a lot of bosses need more of: identity. From the start, the fight has impact. He is not just introduced as another enemy with a health bar. He kills one of his own men for not following orders, then immediately cheap shots you as soon as the fight begins. That tells you who he is before you even understand the moveset. He is dirty, aggressive, as he is not waiting for a fair duel, as he plays by his own rules. And the moveset backs that up. The shotgun blasts make him feel dangerous up close and at mid-range. The explosive shots punish lazy movement. The overhead missile rain makes the arena matter because you cannot just stare at Walter. You have to watch the ground too. And when he calls in comrades, the fight does something I really like. The ads do not just feel like random enemies standing around taking cheap shots like we've seen with other boss fights in Crimson Desert. Walter calls them into the fight, and they drop in like reinforcements. The small presentation detail matters and affects the impact as you feel the added stress dealing with his ads, that if they don't get it right, Walter isn't afraid of offing them himself. It just makes the encounter feel that much more alive. You're not just fighting one guy with a shotgun, you're fighting Walter inside his own camp with his own men in a space that feels like it belongs to him. The reason Walter works for me is that even with all that pressure, the fight rarely feels unfair. He is aggressive but readable. The shotgun blasts can hurt, but you can see the angle and move around them. The explosive shots are dangerous, but they have enough setup to react. The missile rain punish tunnel vision, but the ground markers give you the information you need. Even the ads are manageable if you respect positioning. That is what keeps this fight from turning into chaos for the wrong reasons. There is a lot happening, but most of the damage makes sense. When I got hit, I usually knew why. I overcommitted. I chased too hard. I ignored the ads. I stayed locked into Walter when the arena was telling me to move. That kind of punishment is good, because it gives the player something to fix. And that is where Walter fits the channel really well. This fight rewards the process of learning. Not memorizing perfect script, not doing a clean no-hit run, just learning how to stay calm inside the pressure, track his movement, clear space when needed, and find the right moments to push back. If this kind of boss breakdown is useful to you, a like genuinely helps the channel reach more players who care about analyzing and learning fights this way. Now this is where the fight gets complicated, because the same arena that makes Walter feel so dang good also creates the biggest problem with the encounter. The arena is almost perfect for Walter. It is wide enough to let him reposition. It gives you room to dodge explosives. It supports the hunter camp feeling, and it gives the fight enough space to breathe. But it also gives you a way to control Walter too easily. Once I realized I could shield charge or slam him, push him toward the edge of the arena, and keep comboing him near the giant wall, the fight changed. Walter does get back up. This is not a one-button instant win, but once he's trapped near the edge, it becomes much easier to keep the pressure on him and repeat the same advantage over and over again. And this is why my background probably affects how I see the fight. I spent around a decade as a game tester and even more time around the games industry. So when I find something like this, I have a hard time ignoring it. I do not mind finding strong strategies. That is part of learning a fight. But when the strongest strategy starts feeling like it's bypassing the boss instead of engaging with them, the win feels less clean. And this is where Walter started to feel different, because Walter is at his best when he's forcing you to manage spacing. He wants to move, reset, fire, reposition, and make you chase him on his terms. But when the arena lets you pin him down too easily, the fight becomes less about learning that ranged pressure and more about keeping him stuck in a bad spot. That does not ruin the boss, but it does hurt the learning curve. Because instead of asking, how do I beat Walter straight up, I started asking, can I keep him near the wall long enough to stop him from playing his own game? That is the difference between beating a boss and learning a boss. And for a fight this fun, the difference matters. So before the final verdict, here is what Walter Lanford actually gives us. Mechanically, this is one of the strongest Crimson Desert bosses I have covered so far. The range pressure works because Walter is not passive. He does not just stand back and shoot, he moves, resets spacing, jumps away, calls in support, and keeps forcing you to chase the fight without getting careless. That is what makes him different. This is not a slow boss with the projectile attack added on top. Walter is built around movement, distance, and pressure. The impact is strong too. From the opening cutscene to the cheap shot at the start of the fight to the shotgun blasts, explosives, arena attacks, reinforcements, and weapon reward, Walter feels like a boss with an actual identity. He changes the pace of Crimson Desert, and even when the fight gets messy, I still think it's fair. The attacks are readable, the ground markers give you information, the ads create pressure, but they do not feel detached from the encounter. When I got hit, I understood why. Replayability is where the fight gets interesting, because once I understood Walter's moveset, I did not feel done with the encounter. I wanted cleaner spacing, better ad control, better reactions to the missile rain, and a cleaner way to chase him down without getting careless. That is usually a good sign, but the arena design is the category that keeps the fight from being cleaner. The arena looks right and feels like the right size. It gives Walter room to move, and it gives the player room to deal with the pressure. But once Walter gets pushed to the edge, the fight can start bending around the wall instead of around his moveset. And that is the problem. Not because it ruins everything, but because Walter's best quality is his ability to control space. So when the arena lets the player take that away too easily, the fight loses part of what makes it exciting in the first place. So now, the question becomes simple. Does the wall pressure problem outweigh everything Walter Lanford gets right? For me, this is where replayability matters, because even after I found the problem, I still wanted to fight him again. I wanted another run where I handled the spacing better. I wanted another run where I dealt with the ads cleaner. I wanted another run where I chased him down without relying too much on the wall. That matters because the intended fight is still exciting. Walter is fast, aggressive, readable, and memorable. He makes ranged pressure feel active instead of passive, and he turns the arena into something you have to constantly pay attention to. The problem is real. The boss built around movement should not become easier because you found the right wall, but the fight does enough right that the flaw does not erase the experience. After reviewing the mechanics, impact, fairness, arena design, and replayability, Walter Lanford is absolutely worth the next fight. Walter earns the stamp, but not because the fight is flawless. He earns it because even after finding the problem, I still want to run the fight again. What do you think? If a boss is fun enough to replay, but has one clear way to cheese the fight, does that hurt the final verdict for you? Or is the fun of the encounter enough? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more boss analysis built around analyzing a fight through learning it, instead of pretending every run is perfect, subscribing helps the channel keep growing. thank you to everyone who stayed with me until the end of the fight. Until the next fight.
Fuck his title. Fuck his estate. Fuck it all.